Vivek Ramaswamy had just won Ohio. Back when Casey had some like weird crash out, I didn't see that he had burnt a MAGA hat before his weird crash out. That's fucking wild, bro. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, you fucking retard? But he had some like weird crash out on social media where he was like saying some insane shit. And then when called out on it, he was like, oh, it's a social experiment. I got you guys. I'll explain the experiment later. And it's like, no, there's no experiment. You just look like a fucking retard. And I'm pretty sure he's just lost any chances of getting elected back when that happened. It's like, I would still prefer some like fucking retard over Ramaswamy. But I guess this is the future that we're in now. And so Matt Forney here is quote retweeting a previous Twitter space that happened by a guy named George Roush. George Roush was apparently Casey Putsch's campaign manager. And Matt said, I did a space last night with former Casey Putsch campaign worker George Roush discussing why Putsch lost. George unfortunately did not record it, but here is my summary. Casey could have won. Early campaign analytics had Putsch beating Vivek Ramaswamy with 54% of the vote. That was in December. Casey became the candidate because George had been canvassing for someone to run against Vivek, and Casey was the only one who stepped up. So thank you to Casey for that, at least. And this is once again, I keep fucking beating on this one drum point. Get involved in your local politics. And it's no longer just get involved in your local politics to make sure a rhino or a Democrat does not win. It's now get involved in your local politics for that, but also we're about to see a rise of content creators potentially running for office in order to further their own ego and their own content creation careers instead of having any fucking desire to win the office seat. So it's basically just going to be bleeding votes into a shit candidate that had no way of, or like not no way, but like no want to win. It's basically just going to be tricking people. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I want more content creators like Brandon Herrera, not so much like this fucking crazy guy. Casey had incredible access to the resources he needed to win. He had a number of big donors who were ready to open their wallets, and he had Turning Point staff working on his campaign. And he had access to institutional GOP support. This is just some fucking guy, chat. This is just some fucking guy. You could do this in your local area. You could have this kind of resource to attempt to unseat a disgusting rhino or a Democrat. Fucking get involved, I beg. Putsch largely ruined his chances through his narcissism and his ego. He refused to take his campaign's advice, refused to moderate his presentation to appeal to Ohio voters. The advice I gave last night, don't attack Trump, don't spurg out about Israel, don't stunt on social media, was told to him repeatedly by his own staffers. Steadfully refused to fundraise and was habitually abusive to his workers to the point where he had a revolving door on personnel. Casey even refused to attend policy meetings and then would go on interviews where he embarrassed himself and then blamed his campaign staff even though he refused to put in any work himself. George himself departed the campaign in February due to the hostile work environment that Casey had created and the harm that Casey's antics were doing to George's professional relationships. Like that is insane. What the actual fuck? There were some people that were just like, oh, so refused to moderate his opinion. You just wanted him to say the same thing as all the other ones. And it's like, no, but you hide your fucking power level, you absolute mong. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's just like groypers are what they are because they are just completely incapable of hiding any amount of power level. It's like the people who are like, Kirsche can't be base. She's not base. She doesn't say exactly what I want to and get banned off of all platforms. Like, fucking what's wrong with you? You absolute tard. Holy shit. Kim Georgeton, Casey's running mate, was a consummate professional who did far more work and was far more of a team player than him. She would actually listen to staffers, help develop policy, networked at GOP events on her own time, and actually took the campaign seriously. The Ohio GOP played dirty. The campaign had a consistent problem with retaining personnel. Casey barely qualified for the ballot due to a complete meltdown in signature gathering. The Putsch campaign's initial strategy was to use a mix of positive press from sympathetic journalists, I was one of the ones they reached out to, and trolling the mainstream media in order to keep the GOP from smothering the campaign in silence. This was to be followed by Casey doing a hard pivot to position himself as a normal Christian candidate, starting with Casey doing a Christmas photo op on the year 1 anniversary of Vivek's Christmas crash out. That would have been perfect fucking optics! How do you even fuck up something like that? Casey refused to go along with the pivot, and a crucial opportunity was lost. Casey largely checked out of his own campaign at the end of February in favor of trolling on social media and focusing on his YouTube channel. By that point, his remaining staffers had determined he could not win. The votes that Casey got were entirely due to what was left of his campaign doing outreach and networking, and not due to Casey himself. As George put it, without that infrastructure, Casey would have gotten 5% of the vote at most. America First United, anti-Semitic firefest, I don't know what that is, in many ways symbolized the failure of the Putsch campaign. Casey chose to hobnob with a bunch of influencer freaks that were poison to the voters he needed to win. Casey himself was obsessed with getting an endorsement from Nick Fuentes, despite his staffers telling him this was a terrible idea. The retard right is in the middle of a collapse. George pointed out that Putsch ratioed Nick Fuentes a few days ago. A certain other retard right political candidate who has openly attacked me is liking all of my posts attacking Fuentes. More public recriminations are coming. George's organization has successfully built an infrastructure that they can use to run insurgent candidates anywhere in Ohio. This means that future candidates, better ones, can take the lessons learned from Putsch's failure and win. A significant number of boomers really do hate young Americans. As a part of the campaign, Putsch's volunteers would point out Vivek's Christmas crash out to boomer Republican voters. A disturbingly large share of them agreed with Vivek and said that they would vote for him because of the crash out, because they thought kids these days are lazy and ungrateful. We have a lot of work to do to overcome this hurdle. That is really disgusting. That there are boomers so fucking out of touch with reality. They're like, yeah, the Zoomers are just lazy. There's no other reason possibly for them to be as disenfranchised as they are. Let's flood the country with more Indians. What could go wrong? I'm grateful to George for doing the space and sharing what happened. Also looking forward to what his organization does from here on out. This isn't about Casey Putsch. This is a generational struggle which will have many losses until we win. Which would make me say, if you are someone in Ohio who is very upset at Casey Putsch being a fucking retard and Vivek Ramaswamy winning his primary, which is either going to inundate your state with his horrendous policy or get a Democrat elected in the fall, maybe contact this George guy, considering he has the infrastructure in Ohio to run insurgent candidates. That would be great. Casey responded to this by saying, "I'm not sure what's going on here, but your informant has his comments turned off, and in the few weeks before the election was sending me messages of encouragement and a congratulatory message at the end. People that are key volunteers and members of our campaign team have written long public posts about how positive their experience was." I haven't seen any of those positive posts, bro. "And also of my character. I would write more about your informant, but I just hope he finds the peace and happiness he is searching for." And Matt Forney responded, "You're lying. George has his comments turned on. If you can't reply, it's because he blocked you specifically. I wonder why. You're just proving you're every bit the narcissistic failure he said you were. You will never run for office again. Go enjoy your new Rumble show." And George responded, "Of course I blocked him. And yes, I was providing free advice to the campaign in the final weeks and cheering on a get out the vote campaign. That obviously didn't happen. My loyalty is to God, the American people, and the campaign, not Casey. He decided to waste the time of hundreds of volunteers to increase his own social media following. His volunteers and staffers deserve to have someone speak for them and put an end to the grift." I just like, how? How do you go into this and think you can just retain any kind of positive karma that you previously had as a content creator? Like, actually fucking insane. Wayne Waldrop said, "At one point, Ohio gubernatorial candidate Casey Putsch was exploding in popularity and was quickly gaining traction. Then all of the America First influencers and commentators seemed to leave him hanging, and the social media platforms worked hard to censor him and suppress him. I could even personally push back against that, because the only reason I knew anything about this guy at all was because the amount of posts going on Twitter. Like, people in chat mentioned him, and then he just was all over my feed all the time. Like, but he was mostly crashing out, which was unfortunate. This Wayne guy continued, he got no visibility, no word of mouth, no support. You can say he ran a weak campaign all you want, but this is by design. The establishment wants it to seem impossible to run on what Casey ran on. At the very least, they want it to seem impossible. If we want America First candidates, we need to be prepared to heavily support them, advertise for them, protect them, and work to fight against the establishment efforts to silence them. I would agree with this, but Casey was a Casey First candidate, not an America First candidate. And that would not have been good. I still would have voted for him over fucking Vivek Ramaswamy, but I wouldn't have been happy about having to do so. No one ever said it would be easy to make America First happen. It'll be incredibly difficult even. Are we ready to actually put effort into this movement? I'm very glad that people who worked on his campaign have been coming out and talking about how he had no intention of winning. He was narcissistic and egotistical. He wouldn't listen to any advice. He didn't do any campaigning. He didn't want to do any photo shoots. He didn't want to do any of the stuff necessary to actually get votes. He just wanted to post shit on social media and get endorsements from fucking groypers. They're trying to, like, I guess, make him into a sympathetic fallen martyr character of like, oh, you can't run a grassroots campaign and hope to get anywhere. The system is just too big and has too much money and they're going to repress you. And that's not what happened at all. He had massive support, massive infrastructure. He was polling high until he started sabotaging himself. Guy's just a fucking idiot, man. Like, I'm sorry that you backed a character who turned out to not be what you thought he was. That happens to people sometimes. It sucks. It sucks to feel like you were wrong about someone that you had faith in, right? But doubling down just makes you look like a retard too. Howling Mutant said, who was censoring him? I saw him all over the place. For a candidate with not much real chance of winning, I'd say he got a lot of media exposure. His traction ended when he denounced Trump. That's not a popular thing to do on the right, as X would have you believe. And it's like, some people seem to have forgotten, you can criticize and not like things that Trump does, but also understand, man, I'm so glad we have Trump and not fucking Kamala Harris. I'm like, what are we doing here? You love Mutant? I also love our fucking boat ferryman. George said, Alex is correct. Casey ended his own campaign when he counter-signaled Trump. But that's not all of it. At the beginning of the race, the White House extended multiple olive branches to Casey, and he refused all of them. I cannot imagine being invited to the White House to help my campaign running for governor of a state and declining it. Like, that is just negative levels of IQ. And I can bet the thought process was, if I'm seen with Trump, the groypers will get mad, and I can't piss them off. Holy fuck. White House staffers offered to have Casey go to DC for a weekend photo op where he would meet with automotive industry representatives and help develop new highway and vehicle standards policy, which Casey refused to do. Bro, not even just for your campaign, but your YouTube channel is about car shit. This would have been huge for both your campaign and your fucking YouTube. But you're too fucking dumb to say yes. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Oh, hey.
So he's an idiot.
Yeah.
If I had the White House call me up and they were like, Kirsche, we want you to come to the White House for a photo. We want the president to take a photo with a cartoon fox. And we want to help you meet with video game industry representatives and maybe get you in on a game project. I'd be like, fuck yeah, buddy, let's go. What are we doing? Honda has their American headquarters in Ohio. It's a big auto industry state. Like, this is like the biggest fumble I've ever fucking seen. I disagree with Howling Mutant where he says for a candidate with not much real chance of winning, I think that he had a real chance of winning. I think he could have actually won if he ran a serious campaign. Unfortunately, he's a troglodyte. So this is what we get. Members of the RNC in other states who were high-level staffers during the previous Trump campaigns offered their assistance for free.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Casey refused to return their calls. How do you just fuck up so astronomically, given every choice available. I don't understand. Staffers for various Trump admin key players offered their assistance in the campaign for free, provided that Casey would agree to support the administration in its efforts. Casey refused most of their help, embarrassed the one who the campaign managers and I were able to get onto the team, and then fired him. Good fucking God. George Roush said, Casey was horrible to work with. He would scream at his staff members, including his strategist and campaign manager. He managed to get his campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, almost all of his ground team leads, and just about every social media manager hired to quit. Casey is genuinely the worst candidate I've ever worked with, and he was somehow convinced that because a team offered to run his campaign for free in December, that we quote-unquote worked for him and quote-unquote had to do what he said. That's actually insane. That is actually insane. Like, can you imagine if, like, a streamer even said that to their moderators who do all of the work for free? Can you, and he said this to campaign managers? This is insane. George finished off saying, I want Vivek out of politics, but I can assure you that Casey did not have redeemable qualities that would have made him a decent governor. He's 10 times worse in person than he appeared. This is Jacob Tilley here. Jacob Tilley says he is the former regional director for the Putsch campaign. He says, this man lied to every voter he had and every member of the campaign staff. We had 2 emergency meetings with Casey, both times because things were falling apart with the team. During the first meeting, he cussed me out and finally admitted to what we all expected, or suspected rather. He told us that he, quote, had no intention of winning. He didn't want to. The second, he doubled down, and that's when most of the campaign left. They continued to collect donor money, and in good conscience, I couldn't side with that. Everyday Americans giving their hard-earned dollars to a candidate that didn't want to win. Late in the campaign, he told us that the only way he would take our opinions into consideration was if we ever had more social media reach than him, which I did, which ticked him off even more. He cared about numbers more than votes, hence the crash out, which every lead advised against. We were to quote-unquote trust the process because Casey was, in his own words, quote, smarter than all of us, and we, quote, didn't have the experience he had. I just cannot imagine talking to people like this. Like, it doesn't fucking matter if I have 300,000 followers across my social media accounts. I'm going to listen to people who have expertise in areas that I do not. And running a political campaign is something I have literally no expertise in. I would wager the same would be true for Casey. Cartoon villain. Literally, every Groiper is just more of a cartoon than I am, and I am literally pixels. Swear to God, if we have an era of content creators running for office to boost publicity, you're gonna scream. I am terrified of that happening now, right? Because if Casey doesn't have a monumental fall off from being outed as a narcissistic, duplicitous liar who only cares about himself and no one else, it's going to encourage other content creators to try to do this as publicity stunts. And as we saw, even if he has an incredible fall off, right? Some might still attempt to do what he did, because when people were watching Johnny Somali, some people, instead of having the correct opinion of, wow, that guy's a grotesque loser, they said, hey, I can get tons of attention by doing the same thing. I don't want to see more content creators in the vein of Casey running like fake campaigns like he did. And I again hesitate saying it's a fake campaign because obviously Casey was fake, but the people who were trying to work for him, they weren't. Like, they were trying to run a legitimate campaign. And it's even sadder when this guy says they were continuing to collect donor money even after Casey admitted he didn't want to win and had no intention of doing so. And that's when this guy left. I was like, I would too. I would not feel right being part of a, like, operation collecting taxpayer money to boost my campaign if I have no intention of winning. That's disgusting. That's grotesque. Why would you do this? I know. He finishes off here by saying the campaign had $100,000 plus, nearly 1,000 volunteer signups, yet we were not allowed to use the resources. The Southeast, my district, outperformed every other part of the state. Why? Because I care about this movement. I can only imagine what we could have done had Casey wanted to win. I voted for Casey, but only because he wasn't Vivek. And this was a quote retweet. of something Casey wrote, and I'll go to his tweet in a second, but he responded. Casey said, "You were the volunteer that rage quit after your manager caught you in a lie and were angry we couldn't spend $130K on a canvassing service. Odd narrative here, sir." And Jacob responded, "The lie was we didn't spend 15 hours researching the Epstein files, retard." And I think you mean director, Casey. The director who got you on the ballot. And campaign sidekick was only 20,000. We'll do everything we can to send you to prison. Damn, these people sound fucking serious. And it's like, I don't doubt that he believes he can lie about this and get out of it, because there will be a number of people who will defend him and believe that the people who outed him as a duplicitous narcissist are the ones lying instead. He said, "A few items of note. I will post a final video this week. I cannot legally run as an independent. I have a baby due in 2 weeks and have to go back to working for a living. My wife lost her job 3 weeks ago, and we're just as afraid of tomorrow as millions of Americans. From what I can see, the economy of politics now is only the investor class to buy politicians and controlled op at any higher level." So once again, he is just a fucking retard. He had massive support behind him and refused to listen to anyone. And I literally predicted this earlier. I was like, they're probably going to make him as some sort of martyr and be like, "Oh, you shouldn't try to get involved locally. You shouldn't run. It's all controlled ops. It's only investors and rich people who can afford to run candidates. Just don't even bother, man. It's all just demoralization porn. I'm so tired of it." This is facilitated by a sold-out machine and perpetuated by groupthink. At this time, I am a free man and speak for the betterment of all Americans and the God's honest truth. I do not fully understand what is going on out there now. I was a genuine opposition, and I fear the only value I have now is as a target in a race to see who can destroy or discredit me first for political gain, or find a method of control. It's not even politicians who are denigrating this guy. It's people who literally worked with him. No one's even like grandstanding on your loss, man. Did Vivek even acknowledge him? K-Boy, thank you. Push needs to be made an example of. We can't have candidates that aren't playing to win. The stakes are way too high. 100%. 100%. And again, it makes it even more gross to me because like the narcissistic type content creators are going to realize that they can get a ton of support and a ton of money by running because there's so many Americans who are fucking tired of the way that things are run. We already have enough people in politics lying. Please do not come and try to enhance your content creation sphere and popularity by running a fake campaign. Don't do that. I will personally make sure any content creator I find doing that is just resoundingly known as a duplicitous jackass for the rest of their life. Like, that will be my Asmongold tier mission. Casey continues, "I will disavow no Americans, but I don't trust talking heads, some far more than others. Many are just pure acid. I in no way, shape, or form support the Democrat Party or its candidates, including Amy Acton. At this time, I will abstain from supporting the Republican Party as they have sold us out. I concede the primary election to Vivek, but just because he won doesn't mean that he suddenly stopped being a globalist Trojan horse. I will not vote for him." I mean, this is true. I can agree with that sentence. He's right about that. He's completely right about that. Matt Forney saying, "Another former Casey Putsch campaign volunteer has come forward with inside information on his disastrous campaign. In the screenshots, the volunteer discusses how they made the decision to pivot away from Casey's anti-Trump attitude, knowing that it would be pure poison for his campaign. They made a post for him praising the Trump administration's deportation policy, and that if elected governor, Casey would pledge to work with ICE and help speed up deportations." This is what people want! This is literally what everyone wants! A bunch of groypers lost their shit, presumably because Casey was praising Trump, and Casey himself lost his mind because he thought this mattered, and then made a post accusing his campaign of hijacking his account, and that he wasn't actually pro-Trump. The volunteer also corroborates stories I've heard from other staffers. Casey was unwilling to take advice from his staff. He insisted on doing everything himself rather than follow the lead of professionals. And he spent all his time on Twitter instead of doing the hard work of campaigning. So the screenshots that Matt provided to back up what he's saying is, it says, "If you want to know what the real highlight of his retardation was before he went cape shit," I mean, I'm assuming they mean ape shit, "a month or two ago was the Orange Man post. It was this. And it was, I asked the campaign to put a post out on my account about how we're going to work with the admin on immigration. They bombed it. I've taken my account back. Vote push. I have the wheel." And the campaign staffer continues, Basically, we made the decision to reverse course on Casey's anti-Trumpism. We made a post praising the admin over the deportations, stated we would cooperate fully with ICE as a state government if elected, and would accelerate deportations as much as possible. Some groypers started chimping in the replies, and he panicked and thought that was the end of his campaign because of some negative online commentary. And within 5 minutes, he put out the above post, screenshotted, now deleted, basically claiming he was hijacked and didn't mean it. What would they even be chimping out about? Don't we all want mass deportations? Wouldn't accelerating deportations resonate with literally everyone? What the fuck are they doing? Imagine folding for a groyper. I don't know if Casey never intended to win. As we just read, we learned that he did in fact never intend to win. I kind of doubt that. From what I understand, Jacob Tilley was never part of core staff. But the reason he lost was that he is neurotic and low IQ, maybe narcissistic. So this guy's even saying that this Jacob Tilley guy that we read about, like it sounds like this staffer didn't like Jacob Tilley. And he's like, that guy aside, yeah, Casey is neurotic and low IQ, maybe narcissistic. But apart from the emotional outbursts, which are whatever, you have to deal with those in politics. The problem was that, 1, he did not follow the advice of the professional political operatives that were brought in or attempted to join. He wanted to run his own campaign rather than be the candidate. He wanted to be involved in all operations, comms, etc., rather than let staff run the campaign. He wanted to do all tweets, videos, scripting, etc. himself. And 2, he thought Twitter was real life and that likes equals votes. So he spent most of his time tweeting, even though we had someone dedicated to do that for him. That's crazy, man. What the fuck? What the fuck? Someone said, hey Matt, I'm a big fan of your account, but the election with Casey and Vivek is over. I'm not sure the goal of airing dirty laundry against Casey. He's no longer running. The problem is now Vivek running at the governor race. I'm just confused. Shouldn't Vivek be the focus now? No, why would you let someone who lied to you get away with it? Like, the way that liars, and especially narcissistic liars, continue their disgusting behavior is that no one fucking calls it out. This is absolutely the correct thing to be doing. Why would you not want people to know what a spineless cuck he is? And then Matt quoted himself saying, because Vivek should have been defeated. He should have been. I agree. If the lessons from Push's failed campaign are not learned, we will never win. And not even learning from his failed campaign, but also knowing now that it's potential content creators running for office will be lying to you. They might not be running a genuine campaign. They might be running just to boost their numbers and to purposefully throw the race. And it's a real fucking shame that he has put this in here. No good deed goes unpunished, it seems. On March 3rd, there's a clip here. This is Casey Putsch, who's running for governor against Vivek Ramaswamy, praises Nick Fuentes and defends him. For anyone attacking me or Nick's viewers, you can go fuck yourself. I'm not going to play it because I don't think it matters. But Raw Egg Nationalist here saying, no good deed goes unpunished, it would seem. And it's a picture of another tweet that says, Nick Fuentes has a message for Casey Putsch ahead of tomorrow's primary. Rest in piss, you're gonna get destroyed tomorrow, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. To a point, it feels like all of these people are a parody. Like, none of them are real. Like, Casey's not real, Nick isn't real, they're just like fucking large language model AI being piloted with human skin. Like, they're just not real people, mad. Casey said, I refuse to disavow any Ohioans, and that includes viewers of Nick. Pretty simple. What a fucking retard. Holy shit. And finally, Matt Forney saying Casey Putsch has been defeated in a humiliating landslide. It's not even close. Vivek Ramaswamy, a buried Putsch by 70 points. Need to talk about the retard right and why they failed. And Vince Dow retweeted this saying, huge reality check for the retard right. Vivek was extremely vulnerable, but because the opposition acted retarded, he won in a landslide. Turns out that saying you hate Trump and schizophrenically spurging about Israel and Epstein doesn't win elections. Wow! Well, it's almost like you need at least 50 IQ to figure that out. Holy shit. In fact, it helped Vivek. All his blunders on immigration and American identity, which could have made him lose, were ignored because his opposition acted more retarded. And it made the attacks against Vivek seem like they were just coming from insane lunatics. Credibility matters, and when the message is coming from some vulgar, mentally insane Stu Peters copycat, It's not gonna get over. Rumble podcasts aren't life. Shocker. I know. Important lesson there. But that is the end of the road for that. There was so much about that Casey Putsch campaign, and I know that there were people in my chat who had mentioned him and like mentioned being watchers of like his car content before he started running. I cannot believe how much of an absolute disappointment in general that man is.
Have you ever wanted a pet, but the responsibility of remembering to feed and water something alive is a horrifying prospect? Get your very own Korsche today. This little guy is too low IQ to understand it's not alive. Do you already own the Conco's My Little Padded Room Magical Girl Kirsche plush? Well, get this companion Korsche to keep her company. Or maybe you just want to commit war crimes with a reliable partner who won't snitch to Interpol about your dastardly doings. Get your Korsche today. The Korsche will continue to love you, no matter what. Except if you try to do it. Do not the Korsche. The Korsche is for loving, eating, and war crimes, not for doing. Buy a Korsche for your Korsche so that they don't get lonely inside your walls. Korsches are valuable employees of Korsche Mart, and if you find a Korsche reverted back to a Kirsche, please call 1-800-KORSCHE now to have her return to her original residence. Korsches are also an endangered species due to severe retardation, overeating, and excessive use by world powers and military conflicts. Please know that owning a Korsche does not give you the right to do it. The feds are listening to your every move. If you or a loved one has been assaulted by a Korsche, contact authorities immediately, as you will not make it. You can buy your very own life-size Korsche or a Korsche for your Korsche starting May 8th at 3 p.m. EST through June 5th at 8 p.m. EST. Get yours now before they escape and are gone forever.
Massachusetts Education Commissioner published new radical LGBTQ policies for the public school system. We read through it so you don't have to. Bottom line, they want to trans your kids and they aren't even hiding it. Homeschool.
The Mexican-born Massachusetts Commissioner for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. He recently sent out a new memo detailing a, quote, safe schools program designed to force LGBTQ policies into public schools. Actions for this program include connecting students with LGBTQ clubs, developing, quote, inclusive policies and curriculums, allowing boys and girls sports, sharing made-up pronouns, using affirming language, encouraging staff to put pronouns in their emails, excuse student absences for LGBTQ events outside of school, and much, much more.
That's crazy. What the fuck?
Again, pushing to indoctrinate your children with LGBTQ propaganda. They want to trans your kids. Another perfect ad for homeschooling.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's kind of strange. Massachusetts needs to get some shit together. What the fuck? I just don't understand what the, like, why do all of this stuff? Like, why? Why do this? And especially, like, allowing them to leave school for special gay holidays? That's weird. Can we also make up random holidays and get time off for it? Massachusetts could pass a law that would force 18, 19, and 20-year-old armed robbers, drug dealers, and sex offenders to be charged as juveniles instead of adults. So, you're telling me that you could be a 20-year-old child molester and you will be tried as a juvenile? That seems kind of fucked up, buddy. That seems... Why would you do this? A bill quietly moving through the Massachusetts Senate and one Governor Maura Healey's signature away from law if it clears the House would mean a 20-year-old who deals fentanyl, sticks up a convenience store at gunpoint, or sexually assaults a child gets juvenile court. Sealed record out by his 21st birthday. Department of Youth Services rather than state prison. Out of the system at 21 for any case that lands in juvenile court. The bill is S1061, an act to promote public safety and better outcomes for youths, filed by Senator Brendan Crichton, D. Lynn, with co-sponsors Cynthia Stone Cream, D. Newton, and Liz Miranda, Boston, Joanne Cornerford, Northampton. All right, now I'm not surprised that someone from Lynn would like co-sponsor this, right? That makes sense to me. I know jack shit about Newton, so I don't know how that follows up. And then Boston makes sense. Is Northampton not like a super rich, like you need $3 million home minimum to live there? Because that's what Northampton is in New Hampshire. I don't know about Northampton math. Jesus Christ. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted it favorably out of committee on October 9th, 2025. It now sits with Senate Ways and Means, the committee that recently advised the PROTECT Act, passed Thursday on a 37-3 Senate floor vote that would let illegal immigrants sue ICE agents. I don't think I want to believe Massachusetts is real anymore either, man. I don't think I want that. This certainly won't be abused by activist judge. That entire thing just doesn't even make fucking sense. If we had a sane governing body, their response to anything to do with illegal immigrants is, yeah, they have no rights here. Deport them. The House version, H1923, filed by Rep. James O'Day, West Boylston. I'm not going to bother reading the D in front of their name. You just know that all of these are Democrats, all right? And Rep. Manny Cruz, Salem, was quietly sent to study order on March 26th, effectively shelving it on that side of the building. You know, it was really weird when I went to Salem last, cause Salem was like where the witch trials were, right? And Salem is like covered in old historic buildings, and it's like a very old looking town. And then I went there and it felt like I was in the middle of like Westminster Abbey or some shit, because there were just pride flags everywhere. I did not understand what had happened to the town. Senate President Karen Spilka opened the 194th General Court on January 1st, 2025 by once again calling on the Senate and the House to pass meaningful legislation to address raising the age of juvenile jurisdiction. Her inaugural framed the change, I can't fucking speak, as starting with 18-year-olds. S1061 goes further, ultimately to 21. The Senate is moving the bill. If the chamber passes it and the House is presented into taking it up before the session ends on July 31st, the bill could land on Governor Maura Healey's desk this year. Massachusetts currently treats anyone 18 or older as an adult in criminal court. S1061 changes that. The bill phases the age of juvenile court jurisdiction up over 4 years, to 19 on enactment, to 20 on July 1st, 2028, and to 21 on July 1st, 2030. It is not a one-line statute. The bill runs 95 sections, amending more than a dozen chapters of the general laws. From the drug statutes to assault and rape to firearms to court probation rules. Every reference to age 18 in those chapters is now replaced with the new age of criminal majority. Ooh, age of criminal majority has that same feeling as like fucking justice impacted person or whatever the fuck they called it. A 19-year-old defendant under the new regime would not be arraigned in district court. A 20-year-old wouldn't either. They'd be hauled into juvenile court where their records are sealed, the case is closed to the public, and the maximum custodial placement is in the Department of Youth Services. And the system is required to release them by their 21st birthday, regardless of the offense. The bill applies forward only. Anyone already in the adult system stays there. I just don't understand why so many of these people want to just continuously release criminals. Like, even if their like goal is to just be chaotic and disorderly because they have fun tormenting the people, like there's easier ways to do it than this. Like, what are we doing? Supporters point to a list of carve-outs, and they are narrower than the talking point suggests. For first or second degree murder, supporters say it remains an adult superior court under the long-standing youthful murderer transfer provision in MGL C119 section 74, which the bill does not appear to repeal. Yeah, I just don't believe them. If this passes, right, like if this managed to get passed, I feel like everything would kind of be on the table, and they would absolutely let murderers off as well. Like, they're already saying they're gonna let rapists off. Are you kidding me? Felonies involving serious bodily injury, firearms violations, or prior DYS commitments. Prosecutors may seek a youthful offender indictment, which lets a judge impose an adult sentence. May, not must. That doesn't matter because it gives them an option. Why would it give them an option? You look, what? Stop it! Stop! The second carve-out is the gray zone. An 18, 19, or 20-year-old armed robber would default to juvenile court under section 1061, but a prosecutor could seek a youthful offender indictment because the offense involves a firearm. Whether to seek it is the DA's call. Whether to grant it is the judge's. Default flips to juvenile. Adult sentencing is preserved as a discretionary option, not the floor. Yeah, I don't want the option. Stop it. Outside the carve-outs entirely, squarely defaulting into juvenile court for 18, 19, and 20-year-old defendants sit some of the most serious felonies on the books. Statutory rape of a 14 or 15-year-old, no serious bodily injury element, no carve-out triggered. possession or distribution of child sexual abuse material, indecent assault and battery on a child under 14 without serious bodily injury, sex trafficking of a minor where no serious bodily injury is alleged. Can we be serious for a second here? When you say no, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds should be charged as juveniles and not as adults in the case of having child pornography or fucking sex trafficking a minor or indecent assault and battery on a child or statutory fucking rape, making things like this just makes it sound like you support those things. Why would you want to lessen the punishment for those things when the normal human reaction is just fucking kill them? Just execute them. Get them out of here. They're worth nothing. And Dems are the party of rapists and pedos. It's also tiresome, man. It's also tiresome, chat. 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are gonna have juvenile charges instead of adult charges for child enticement, drug distribution and trafficking without a firearm, including large quality fentanyl, stalking, kidnapping without a firearm, carjacking without a firearm. They do realize this is also going to create an industry of people who are stalking someone or wanting to kidnap someone, paying someone younger to do it because they'll have a lesser charge. Like, what are we doing here? Witness intimidation, breaking and entering, and motor vehicle theft and larceny. You can do a little B&E as an adult, as a treat. This is one more instance of if someone breaks into your home, you better take them out because the justice system ain't gonna do shit. Hey, yo, fuck laws and shit. Like, what are we doing? What is this? I'm so mad. It also leaves out every single misdemeanor. And for each of these, an 18, 19, or 20-year-old defendant under the bill's final phase is by default a juvenile. Backers, including the Citizens for Juvenile Justice, argue the brain doesn't finish developing until the mid-20s, that adult records destroy young people's job and housing prospects, and that DYS programming is more rehabilitative than the DOC. Critics, including district attorneys who have testified against prior versions, argue the change strips victims of a public adult court process and limits prosecutorial discretion at exactly the age range when violent offending peaks. True. The current 194th General Court session runs through July 31st, 2026. The Senate has the bill in its Money Committee, the House has buried it. The next move belongs to Spilka, and if the bill clears both chambers, to the governor, whose desk it would land on. Why on earth does anyone vote Democrat? Yeah, that's certainly a fucking question. I don't know if you could even do anything in Mass, but I would definitely, if you live in Mass, contact your fucking representative and hope it's not one of these scum fucks that co-sponsored it. I'd hope you can get them to vote against it. Fucking someone here said safer snorting suggestions for teens. Thanks, Canada. And they have a little box that has a little straw on it that says safer snorting. And then the back of the box says make it your own. Adding a personal touch to your snorting equipment will help you better recognize your own when using with others. Some people add a piece of tape to their tubes or use a piece of colored paper as their straw.
What the fuck?
I really wanted to hope this wasn't real, but she posted even more pictures in the booklet. Hold on a second. Let's open image in new tab, brother. What's this say? After snorting, your nose may feel raw and irritated. Here are some ways to reduce damage to your nasal passages and keep them healthy. Rinse the inside of your nose after snorting. Dab your fingers in sterile water and sniff the water up your nose until you feel it run down your throat. This will make your nose feel less irritated and will help move along any drugs that are left behind. Switch nostrils to give each side a break. Crush substances, especially crystal meth, into a fine powder before snorting. Use vitamin E oil, saline spray, sinus rinse, or a water-based lubricant to soothe the inside of your nose and help it heal. If your nose feels raw inside or if you have pain, you should talk to a healthcare provider or harm reduction worker. Dude, harm reduction worker sounds like some fucking atomic heart CCP shit. Why is Canada like this? That's a great fucking question. Safer Snorting 101. The best way to prevent harm when snorting is to use your own equipment and not share with others. This is so fucking blurry, holy shit. There are many ways drugs are snorted. You might use straws, rolled paper, glass, or metal tubes, or you may snort your drugs straight from your hand or a hand or hard surface. Using your own equipment and not sharing with others is a great way to prevent harm. And of course, Paul here said, you can't have plastic straws while enjoying a beverage, but you can have plastic straws if you're enjoying a snort of illicit drugs. Make it make sense. So if I was in the region of Canada that had these snorting straws, and I went to a restaurant and they gave me the paper straw, I'd be like, actually, I would like a side of cocaine with my chicken tendies. Please bring me the snorting straw. And then they would bring me the plastic snorting straw, and then I would just put it in my drink. It looks like they got all colors of snorting straw. I know! You can customize it and make it your own. It's like all the girls who used to decorate their fucking notebooks. What was that? Was that like Sally Phillips? Lily, what's the weird super colorful holographic shit that like all girls had in the 90s. Lisa Frank, yeah, that thing. Going to really jazz up the sea turtles. Britain's first gay surrogate parent charged with rape and human trafficking. Barry Druitt Barlow, 57, and Scott Druitt Barlow, 32, the co-owner of Malden and Tiptree Football Club, are due to appear in court on Friday. Hey, so, the thing that we were told never happens, happened again. That's, I mean, at least they got first for something, right? One of Britain's first gay surrogate parents have been charged with rape and human trafficking for sexual exploitation. Barry Druitt Barlow, 57, became Britain's first gay surrogate parent in 1999. He and Scott Druitt Barlow, 32, the co-owner of Malden and Tiptree Football Club, are charged with multiple offences. The pair from Danbury, Essex, will appear at Chelmsford Magistrates Court on Friday. The Crown Prosecution Service said Barry Druitt Barlow has been charged with 3 counts of sexual assault on a male, 4 counts of rape on a man 16 or over, and 2 counts of arranging or facilitating travel of another person with a view to exploitation. I have a question. If someone purchases a surrogate baby and does human trafficking with said surrogate baby and or child if they get a little bit older, would you potentially hold the surrogacy company liable for having given some like tainted freaks a child? Scott Druitt Barlow has been charged with 1 count of sexual assault on a male, 1 count of rape on a man 16 or over, and 2 counts of arranging or facilitating travel of another person with a view to exploitation. Essex police said officers from the Serious Crime Directorate carried out searches at premises in Danbury, Malden, and Braintree on Wednesday and arrested 2 men. The force said since then it has been liaisoning with the CPS. ITV has shelved a planned TV show about the men's move into football club ownership. They were gonna have a TV show about owning a fucking football club? No way, dude. On Friday morning, an ITV spokesperson said ITV has decided to remove Up the Jammers from the upcoming schedule. It will no longer be shown on ITV4 or ITVX as previously advertised. Man, that's crazy what you can get celebrated for. I think maybe you should investigate the surrogacy company. I don't know, maybe that's a little fucked up, because you don't do that in the case of a lot of other crimes, but it's like when you are in the business of buying and selling babies, maybe an investigation is warranted. There was a lesbian couple in Toronto who starved a 12-year-old boy to death and just got convicted, and the adoption agency is the shady NGO that did nothing to check up or help the child, even as they saw him starve and the Canadian government just washed its hands. Similar thing, they let adopted surrogate parents get away with anything so long as they're alphabet people. What the actual fuck? I do not like that things are the way they are. Trump administration ramps up denaturalization campaign targeting U.S. citizens accused of crimes, fraud, and terrorism. Trump administration on Friday announced a major expansion of its denaturalization campaign targeting foreign-born American citizens accused of fraudulently obtaining U.S. citizenship. Based, please. Oh my God, do not just be lip service. Do not just be empty words, please, I beg. The denaturalizations and deportations must occur. The Justice Department unveiled denaturalization cases in federal courts across the country against roughly a dozen U.S. citizens born overseas. That needs to be up to like tens of thousands, buddy. Officials said they had committed serious crimes or immigration fraud or had ties to terrorism. The announcement represents a drastic increase in the federal government's use of denaturalization, a lengthy and complicated legal procedure that has rarely been invoked by prior administrations. Between 1990 and 2017, for example, the U.S. government filed just over 300 denaturalization cases, or an average of 11 per year. I am mildly optimistic. Yay! The group of naturalized U.S. citizens whose citizenship the Justice Department is now seeking to revoke includes immigrants from Bolivia, China, Colombia, Gambia, India, Iraq, Kenya, Morocco, Nigeria, Somalia, and Uzbekistan. Among those targeted by the denaturalization crackdown are a Colombian-born Catholic priest convicted of sexually assaulting a minor, a man born in Morocco with alleged ties to Al-Qaeda, a Somali immigrant who pleaded guilty to providing material support to Al-Shabaab, a U.S. designated terrorist group, and a former Gambian police officer allegedly involved in war crimes. Ilhan Omar's family is going back, buddy! They need to add Ilhan Omar to the— oh my God, same brain cell? The group also includes individuals who allegedly used false identities to apply for immigration benefits, and a man who allegedly entered into sham marriages to commit immigration fraud. Both of these are wonderful, and hopefully, like those articles that we've read about Americans who have incredibly struggled to get their identities back after having them stolen by illegals to set up their American life here. Hopefully, those Americans can actually have some kind of, like, retribution here. Some kind of restitution here. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. In a separate announcement Friday, the Justice Department said it was also seeking to denaturalize Manuel Roca, a former American diplomat who admitted to being a Cuban spy as part of a high-profile criminal case. That's crazy that a spy was able to become a diplomat and no one was able to stop that from happening. Nobody suspected he might be a little suspicious. I don't know if he's a good spy or like everybody around him was just a fucking retard. The denaturalization process involves Justice Department lawyers filing civil or criminal cases in federal courts and trying to convince judges that someone's citizenship should be terminated. U.S. law allows denaturalization to occur when the government proves that a naturalized citizen obtained their citizenship illegally or through fraud, such as by concealing information on their immigration applications. Those whose citizenship is revoked lose all the legal benefits that come with being an American citizen and return to their previous legal status, typically as permanent residents, who are deportable based on certain criminal conduct and other grounds. This seems like a real unnecessary step under the law, man. Like couldn't you just deport them after that? Like, what? Why? In an interview with CBS News earlier this week, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche previewed the administration's denaturalization push, saying he believes there are a lot of individuals who are citizens who shouldn't be. Based Mr. Blanchy. Asked about concerns among some of the roughly 24 million naturalized citizens in the U.S., Blanche said only a very small percentage should be worried about the administration's denaturalization efforts. Those who did not illegally obtain their citizenship, he said, don't have anything to worry about. You see, there's just one little problem. When someone from the government says that sentence, I become suspicious. This is kind of like, what do you mean you're against the Patriot Act? If you're not saying anything bad, you have nothing to worry about. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't like that. I don't like that he said that. We should disincentivize people from committing fraud when they're going to become a citizen of this great country. I agree with that. It is a drastic consequence of committing a fraud to get citizenship, just like it is a drastic action to commit fraud to get a citizenship. Yeah? And again, I agree with that. It's just, this one sentence. I don't like that coming from a government person. A large emergency response is underway following a structure fire at one of the oldest churches in Washington, D.C., a St. Dominic Catholic church. It's unfortunate that these fires are seemingly becoming more common in these historic churches, as one of the oldest churches in NYC burned down just a couple of weeks ago. Thankfully, there is a fire station with ladder trucks just 1 block from the church. Or this could have been much worse. No details on the cause of the fire yet, but National Guard responded to the scene alongside MPD and DCFD. Now, not for nothing, but I feel like we're steadily importing a certain group of people that really enjoys burning down other people's religious temples. And suddenly, when we imported a bunch of those people who like burning down other people's religious temples, a bunch of our religious temples started burning down. I'm not saying there's a correlation. I'm just saying it's kind of weird that those two things are happening at the same time. Who would do such a thing? Phoenix DS, thank you. Diplomats who spy for foreign nations, isn't that just treason? Doesn't it carry a heavy penalty? Yeah, apparently not anymore, because we're not a serious country. And I'm winning you. 007 Zen Master, thank you. If you're not using a $100 bill, you shouldn't be snorting true. Benjamin has to look at you disapprovingly as you snort, otherwise it's not the real cocaine experience. Gus of the Dorks, thank you. Seem kind of different. Did you do something new with your hair?
I did. I put a bow in it. Thank you for noticing.
Flashy lights. Don't do anything to spies anymore. We hold them and do prisoner swaps for our own spies. Yeah, it's kind of like there's no repercussion for it anymore, really. As much as people want to scream, the Muslims did it. Ancient churches chronically have the worst wiring. Yeah, it's just interesting how many of them recently have been having issues in all countries that are having a similar issue. Bill Maher and John Fetterman share growing concerns that communist is no longer viewed as a smear on the left. And I was floored when I read this by myself. Because it's like, what? Where the fuck have you been? It's been at least 15 years of communism should be treated with the same ire as fucking Nazism is, but it's not. Where the fuck have either of you been? Fucking Fetterman at least has the excuse that he got brain damage, but he's still the smartest Democrat by far. Can't believe this thing that's been happening for 40 years has just started happening. It's just like, back in the early 2000s, you could still use commie as an insult, right? Like, people would still get insulted if you called them a fucking communist. And you could still make jokes about throwing commies from helicopters, or about how does it feel to kill a human? I don't know. I've only ever killed commies, right? Like, you could say that shit, and it was fine. Nobody cared, because everyone knew commies weren't fucking human. But now you say that shit and everybody gets their panties in a wad because communism is supposed to be good now for some reason if you have brain damage.
And people that are proud to be labeled as a socialist. That used to be was a smear when I was running my first cycle, and now that's becoming more normalized. And now I think that's a very dangerous, slippery slope for us to be. And now I've spoke to people that had to live under socialism and or communism, and they are more.
I never noticed that he had this weird little beard here. How is it so perfectly under his chin and so tiny?
Morons if they think that socialism is the answer. You know, I've lived under that, and thank God we are now.
We already have a great deal of socialism, and I've made the point a million times on the show, as we should. All Western democracies are quasi-socialist. There are certain things that the government should do. You don't want the private enterprise to be controlling the Marine Corps, and we need Social Security and Medicare.
Did this guy just say having a military is socialist? What am I fucking, what? What? I was just like, I wouldn't call that socialism, buddy, man. Idiot has no idea what socialism actually means.
Medicaid, obviously these things, we have socialism. They're just proposing something way more than that. And by the way, you said socialism, dirty word? Yeah, yes and no. What really was a dirty word, which isn't anymore, is communism.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman in New York who is Mayor Mondami's right-hand woman, she tweets out, elect more communists. This guy, Graham Plattner?
Yeah.
See, this is why the Communist Control Act was worded very poorly. They just said that people who are part of the Communist Party can't hold political seats. But if you're not a part of the Communist Party of America and you're still a communist, I guess that doesn't apply to you under the Communist Control Act. So that's kind of unlucky for all of us who have to suffer these absolute fucking retards.
Yeah, it's not a slur if I refer to him as a communist. That's his own term that he used for himself.
Yes.
Antifa and these other kinds of extreme things. Now, that's his own words. That's not my view, and I'm not using that as a slur.
But
it should be.
But the idea that communist is not a dirty word, I think we need to pause here and say, okay, this is a watermark. This is a watershed mark, a moment in American history where we should pay attention. And my guess is because AI is going to be taking everybody's jobs,
What?
communism is only going to get more popular.
What?
Well, I sure hope not.
What? Okay, all right. Fetterman is a dino. A watershed mark. Yeah, watershed mark, buddy. Majab, thank you. Part of the problem with modern leftists is that they call any and all government services socialist in order to sanitize their call for more socialism. It is a massive problem, unfortunately. Yes. Subversion of language to make communication impossible is like de facto #1 thing that gets done. Speaking of what the fuck, Democrats voted unanimously to not require the removal of dead people from Minnesota's voter rolls last night. Why would anyone oppose this? The answer, dear Dustin, I'm sure as he knows, and he's just doing what I do by asking a question you already know the answer to. They just want to cheat. They just want to cheat. They need the illegals to keep their power.
11. I recognize a member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is just to require the full removal of deceased people from the voters' rolls. And if before you ask, well, nobody deceased is voting, the federal system at SSA has checked registrations and has flagged deceased people registering in the state of Minnesota.
All right, so instead of having to have them constantly flag it, you can just fucking remove them, right? If they're not voting, if it's not an issue, then you just remove them, do you not? As that would be the intelligent thing to do and also not make you look suspicious?
Not a huge thing, but let's take care of it by cleaning up the roll. Oregon
Is that guy from
is
Smiling
doing
Friends?
it,
He
and
kind
other
of looks
states
like
are
it.
doing it, so it's not an unusual thing to do. Let's just vote green.
Minnesota supports undead and zombie voters? That's fucking wild. What the fuck? Recount would be if it were a secret ballot, but this was a roll call. Thanks, I hate it. Even Honkenfreres, thank you. Time means it didn't pass, so dead names can still go on the registry. That's so fucked up. What the hell? Internet Zen Master, thank you. Remove dead people from the voter rolls. This is basic bureaucratic maintenance. Your mother keeps getting the ballot for your dead dad, and he's been buried for nearly a decade. Why is this a problem? It's because the Democrats need voters, man, and the dead vote for the Democrats. It's also tiresome. There should be no ties in the Minnesota Parliament. Can we have a federal act to put a wall around Minnesota and just let it do what it wants? It can be our attack on Titantown, right? This needs feds getting involved to investigate the voter fraud. Yeah, this is like, this should trigger some kind of, that's a good meme. 0 days without Minnesota being a national embarrassment. That's a good meme.
11. I recognize a member from Olmsted.
That's so fucking upsetting. I hate you, Minnesota. I'm sorry for those of you who have to live in that shithole state.